I am Kyle, a 32-year-old software developer from Boston. 3 years ago, I met Amanda, the woman I thought would be my forever. Our relationship was everything I had dreamed about. We connected instantly, shared the same values, and built what I believed was an unshakable foundation of trust. But I never fully understood how much her best friend Jessica secretly resented our happiness. When Amanda told me she was pregnant, I was overjoyed and immediately bought a ring. I never imagined that on the day I proposed, she would tell me she had aborted our baby because of a lie. If you are watching this, drop a comment saying where you are from, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned to discover how I uncovered the devastating truth behind the betrayal that changed my life forever. The first time I laid eyes on Amanda was at a corporate networking event in downtown Boston during the summer of 2020. I was standing alone by the refreshment table, feeling awkward as always at these forced social gatherings, when she approached, asking if I knew where to find the appetizers. Her warm smile and genuine laugh when I pointed out they were on the table right in front of us immediately put me at ease. We ended up talking for hours that night, discovering our shared passion for obscure indie films and weekend hiking trips. By the end of the evening, I had her number and a promise for dinner the following weekend. I remember walking home feeling like something significant had just happened, though I could not have imagined how much my life was about to change. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant in North End. I was so nervous, I spilled water all over the table within the first 5 minutes. Instead of being embarrassed, Amanda helped me mop up the mess while telling me about a job interview where she had knocked over an entire pot of coffee. After dinner, we walked along the Charles River until past midnight, talking about everything from our childhood dreams to our most embarrassing moments. The relationship progressed naturally from there. We took weekend trips to Vermont, exploring small towns and hiking trails. 4 months in, during a sunset picnic at Walden Pond, I told her I loved her for the first time. The look of joy on her face as she said it back is still one of my most treasured memories. After 18 months together, we decided to move in, finding a charming brownstone apartment with bay windows and a tiny balcony where Amanda immediately started growing herbs. Living together felt effortless, like we had been doing it for years. Our morning routines synced perfectly, and evenings were spent cooking together or cuddling on the couch watching documentaries. Throughout this time, Jessica had been a constant presence in our lives. She and Amanda had been best friends since their freshman year at Boston University a decade earlier. From the beginning, I sensed something off about Jessica. She was polite enough when Amanda was paying attention, but there were moments when I caught her watching me with an expression I could only describe as resentment. Her undermining was subtle at first. She would make backhanded compliments about my career, saying things like, "It must be nice to have such a stable, predictable job," with just enough emphasis on predictable to make it sound boring. She would conveniently forget to invite me to gatherings where Amanda's other friends and their partners were present. And she had an uncanny ability to bring up Amanda's ex-boyfriends in conversation, particularly one named David, who apparently had been quite successful in the finance industry. Despite these minor irritations, life was good. My career was thriving, and I had recently been promoted to senior developer with a substantial salary increase. We were financially stable, taking vacations and talking more seriously about our future together. I had started researching neighborhoods with good schools, thinking ahead to the family I hoped we would start someday. Then came the morning that changed everything. I was brushing my teeth when Amanda burst into the bathroom, her face flushed with excitement and what looked like shock. In her trembling hands was a pregnancy test with 2 clear pink lines. I remember the toothbrush falling from my mouth as the realization hit me. "We are going to have a baby," she whispered, her voice a mixture of disbelief and joy. I wrapped her in my arms, lifting her off the ground and spinning us around in our tiny bathroom until we were both laughing and crying at once. That night, we stayed up late talking about names, debating whether the spare room would make a better nursery or if we should look for a larger place. Amanda fell asleep with her head on my chest, and I lay awake for hours, overwhelmed by the feeling that my life was finally complete. The next day, I knew without a doubt that I wanted to propose. Amanda and I had discussed marriage before, always as an eventual certainty rather than an immediate plan. But the pregnancy accelerated everything. I wanted our child to be born into a family where both parents were fully committed, not just to the baby, but to each other. I spent the next week visiting jewelers, examining dozens of rings until I found the perfect one. a 1.5-carat oval diamond with small sapphire accents that matched Amanda's eyes. It cost 3 months of my salary, but seeing it, I could perfectly envision it on her finger for decades to come. For the proposal, I chose the lighthouse at Portland Head where we had gone on our third date. Amanda had mentioned several times how it was one of her favorite places in New England. I arranged for a photographer friend to hide nearby to capture the moment and planned a champagne picnic for after she said yes. As the date approached, I found myself daydreaming about our future. A house in the suburbs with a big backyard for our child to play in. Maybe a dog, family holidays and birthday parties. If it was a girl, perhaps we would name her Lily after my grandmother. If it was a boy, maybe James after her father. Each night I would place my hand gently on her stomach, though there was not yet any visible sign of the life growing inside her. I had no idea that while I was planning our future, Jessica was working systematically to destroy it. The day of the proposal, June 15th, dawned with perfect weather. Clear blue skies, mild temperature, just enough breeze to keep it comfortable. I had barely slept the night before, rehearsing my speech over and over. Amanda had been quiet that morning, which I attributed to morning sickness, something she had been experiencing for the past couple of weeks. We drove separately to Portland, since I told her I needed to work late but would meet her there. In reality, I arrived 2 hours early to set everything up. I chose a secluded spot near the lighthouse with a perfect ocean view, laid out a blanket with rose petals scattered around, and positioned the champagne in an ice bucket. For Amanda, I had sparkling cider since she could not drink alcohol during pregnancy. My photographer friend Jason was positioned behind some rocks, camera ready. When Amanda arrived, she seemed distracted and tense. Her eyes were slightly red, as if she had been crying. When I asked if she was okay, she nodded and said she was just feeling emotional lately. I assumed it was the pregnancy hormones and proceeded with my plan, leading her to the picnic spot. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, I took both her hands in mine and began the speech I had practiced countless times. Amanda, from the moment we met, I knew there was something special about you. The past 3 years have been the happiest of my life. You have brought joy, laughter, and meaning to every day, and now you are giving me the greatest gift imaginable by carrying our child. I want to spend the rest of my life making you as happy as you have made me. I want to build a family with you, grow old with you, and face whatever challenges life brings us together. As I reached for the ring box in my pocket and dropped to one knee, I noticed her expression remained cold, distant. There were none of the happy tears I had anticipated. No hands covering her mouth in surprise. Instead, she looked down at me with an expression so pained it made my heart freeze. I had an abortion yesterday, she said, her voice barely audible over the sound of the waves. I stayed on one knee, the ring box halfway out of my pocket, certain I had misheard her. What did you say? I terminated the pregnancy yesterday. She repeated louder, this time tears starting to stream down her face. I stood up slowly, my legs suddenly weak. But why? We were happy about the baby. We were planning names just last week. How could you do this to me? She cried, her voice rising. How could you cheat on me while I was carrying your child? The accusation hit me like a physical blow. Cheat on you, Amanda? I have never cheated on you. I would never do that. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking with rage. Jessica showed me everything. The messages between you and Stephanie from work. The pictures of you two having lunch together, sitting so close, laughing intimately. My mind raced to make sense of what she was saying. Stephanie was a coworker I had been collaborating with on a major project for the past month. We had exchanged numerous work messages and occasionally had lunch meetings to discuss project details. Those were work messages, and those lunches were about the Robertson account. Stephanie and I were assigned to that project together. There is nothing inappropriate about any of it. Amanda scrolled through her phone and thrust it at me. There were screenshots of messages that, taken out of context, could possibly be construed as flirtatious. Photos of Stephanie and me at a restaurant, leaning close to look at something on a laptop, laughing at some shared joke. But the context was entirely professional and innocent. You cannot possibly believe this is evidence of cheating, I pleaded. Ask Stephanie yourself. Call my boss. Check my emails. This is a complete misunderstanding. Jessica warned me about men like you, Amanda said, her voice now cold with contempt. She said you would deny everything, that you would try to gaslight me. In a gesture of finality, she grabbed the ring box from my hand and hurled it toward the ocean. I watched in stunned silence as it arced through the air and disappeared into the water below. Our relationship is over. Do not call me. Do not text me. Do not come to the apartment when I am there. I will be collecting my things tomorrow while you are at work. She turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone by the lighthouse as the sun set. Jason emerged from his hiding spot, his face a mask of shock and discomfort. Neither of us knew what to say. The proposal he had come to photograph had turned into something entirely different. The drive home was a blur. I kept calling Amanda, but my calls went straight to voicemail. When I finally reached our apartment, she was not there. I spent the night alternating between sobbing and staring at the wall in shock, trying to process the dual trauma of losing both my girlfriend and my unborn child in a single moment. The next day, I called in sick to work. Around noon, Amanda arrived with Jessica to pack her things. I tried again to explain, to beg her to listen, but Jessica physically placed herself between us, telling me to back off and respect Amanda's wishes. The cold satisfaction in Jessica's eyes should have been a clue, but I was too devastated to notice it then. After they left, I tried everything to reach Amanda. I called her parents, who told me she had asked them not to speak to me. I messaged mutual friends, only to discover I had been blocked on social media. It was as if Amanda and I had never existed our 3 years together, and the child we had created erased in the span of 24 hours. For 3 days, I barely ate or slept. I took emergency leave from work, unable to focus on anything. The apartment was filled with reminders of Amanda, her favorite coffee mug still in the cupboard, the indentation of her head still visible on her pillow, the prenatal vitamins still sitting on the bathroom counter, a cruel reminder of what could have been. By the beginning of the second week, I had hit rock bottom. My friend and coworker Tom came over, alarmed by my absence from work and unanswered messages. He found me unshaven, unwashed, surrounded by takeout containers and empty water bottles. After forcing me to shower and eat a proper meal, we sat down to talk. I do not understand how this happened, I told him, recounting the entire story. Amanda actually believed I was cheating with Stephanie. The whole thing is insane. Tom looked at me strangely. Stephanie Parker, from the UX team. When I nodded, he let out a disbelieving laugh. Kyle, Stephanie is a lesbian. She has been with her partner Diane for like 8 years. Everyone at the office knows this. She has a photo of them on her desk. This revelation hit me like a thunderbolt. If Stephanie was openly gay, then the evidence Jessica had shown, Amanda could not possibly be legitimate. Something was very wrong with this situation. I need to figure out what really happened, I said, suddenly energized by this new information. Over the next few days, I began investigating Jessica's past pattern of behavior. I reached out to Michael, one of Amanda's ex-boyfriends whom I had met at a party once. He was initially reluctant to speak with me, but after hearing my situation, he opened up. Man, the same thing happened with us, he revealed. Jessica told Amanda I was texting with my ex, showed her doctored screenshots. Amanda broke up with me without even asking for my side of the story. I always thought it was weird how quickly she believed Jessica. This confirmed my growing suspicion. I tracked down Taylor, Amanda's college roommate, who had witnessed the early years of her friendship with Jessica. What she told me was illuminating. Jessica confessed romantic feelings for Amanda during their sophomore year, Taylor explained. Amanda let her down gently, said she valued their friendship but was straight. Jessica seemed to accept it, but afterward she sabotaged every relationship Amanda had. The pattern was always the same. She would get close to Amanda's boyfriends, acting super friendly, then suddenly come to Amanda with evidence of their unfaithfulness. Armed with this context, I decided to gather concrete evidence. First, I obtained security footage from the restaurant where Stephanie and I had our intimate lunch. The full video clearly showed us reviewing documents and working on a laptop throughout the meal. Completely professional. Next, I retrieved company emails documenting the project Stephanie and I were working on, showing the legitimate reason for our frequent communication. I also got a signed statement from Stephanie confirming our relationship was entirely professional and mentioning her long-term partnership with Diane. Finally, I decided to confront Jessica directly. I went to her apartment unannounced, recording our conversation on my phone in my pocket. "I know what you did," I said, when she opened the door, surprised to see me. "I do not know what you are talking about," she replied, attempting to close the door. I blocked it with my foot. "You fabricated evidence to make it look like I was cheating on Amanda. You manipulated screenshots of work conversations, took photos of me and my lesbian coworker out of context, and convinced Amanda to abort our baby and break up with me." Her face flickered between expressions, finally settling on righteous indignation. "Amanda deserves better than you. She always has. Better like you," I pushed. "Taylor told me about your confession in college. You have been in love with Amanda for years, haven't you? Is that why you destroy every relationship she has? Those guys were all wrong for her." Jessica snapped her, composure slipping. "You were wrong for her too. She was going to be trapped with you forever because of that baby." The moment the words left her mouth, her eyes widened, realizing her mistake. She had just admitted to knowing about the pregnancy and seeing it as an obstacle to be removed. Something I had never mentioned during our conversation. "How did you know about the baby?" Amanda told me she only shared that news with me and her parents." Jessica stammered, trying to backtrack, but it was too late. When pressed further with the evidence I had gathered, she partially confessed, admitting she had maybe exaggerated some things because she was protecting Amanda. The confrontation left me emotionally exhausted, but I now had what I needed. I compiled everything. The security footage, the work emails, Stephanie's statement about her relationship status, my recorded conversation with Jessica, statements from Michael and Taylor about Jessica's pattern of behavior. I sent it all to Amanda with a brief message: "I never cheated on you. I loved you and our baby. Here is the truth about what happened. Do with it what you will." For days there was no response. Then came an angry text accusing me of trying to manipulate her further. Then silence again. A week later, my phone exploded with notifications. Dozens of messages from Amanda, each more desperate than the last, begging me to call her to let her explain, to forgive her. It turned out she had finally confronted Jessica with the evidence I provided. Under pressure, Jessica had broken down and admitted to fabricating the entire thing out of jealousy and possessiveness. Amanda was calling me from outside Jessica's apartment, sobbing uncontrollably, asking what she should do now. 3 days later, Amanda appeared at my door. Her face was pale, eyes swollen from crying, hair unwashed and pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked like I had felt during those first terrible weeks after our breakup. "Can I please come in?" she asked, her voice small and broken. I stepped aside silently, allowing her to enter the apartment that had once been ours. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the distance between us symbolic of the gulf that had opened in our relationship. "I am so sorry," she began, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "I should have trusted you. I should have talked to you. I was stupid and scared, and I listened to the wrong person." I remained quiet, letting her speak. The anger I had initially felt had largely burned away, leaving behind a profound sadness. Jessica admitted everything, Amanda continued. She doctored those messages, took those photos deliberately to make them look suspicious. She has been doing this my entire adult life, poisoning every relationship I have had. I cut her out completely. I blocked her number, her social media. She is dead to me now. She moved closer on the couch, reaching for my hand. I let her take it, though. I felt oddly detached from the gesture. "I know what I did is unforgivable," she said. "I ended the life of our baby because I believed a lie. I threw away 3 years of love and trust, without giving you a chance to explain. But I am begging you to try to forgive me. We can start again. We can have another baby. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you." I looked at her, this woman I had loved so completely, and felt the complex swirl of emotions inside me. There was still love there, buried beneath layers of pain. But there was also something new and resolute. "Amanda, I do still care about you," I said carefully. "A part of me probably always will. But what happened between us cannot be undone. Our child is gone. The trust we built has been shattered. I do not think I could ever look at you without remembering what happened. Please," she begged. "People make mistakes. Terrible ones, sometimes. But they can be forgiven. We can heal together. I shook my head slowly. Some breaks cannot be mended. I have been doing a lot of thinking these past weeks. About myself, about relationships, about what I want from life. And I realize I deserve someone who trusts me implicitly, who would never make such a life-altering decision without talking to me first. Her sobs grew louder, but I continued gently. I forgive you, Amanda. I really do. Jessica manipulated you in the worst possible way, at the most vulnerable time. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. We cannot go back to what we were. Too much has been lost. In the end, she left with one final embrace. I watched from the window as she walked to her car, shoulders hunched, occasionally wiping her eyes, a chapter of my life closing before me. The months that followed were a gradual process of healing. I started seeing a therapist who specialized in grief and relationship trauma. I joined a support group for people dealing with similar betrayals. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during my relationship with Amanda, finding comfort in those connections. I threw myself into my work, eventually earning another promotion. I moved to a new apartment in a different neighborhood, needing fresh surroundings unmarked by painful memories. Slowly, I began to feel like myself again, albeit a changed version. 6 months after our final conversation, I ran into Amanda at a coffee shop downtown. The encounter was civil, almost friendly. She looked better, healthier. She told me she was also in therapy, learning to recognize toxic relationships and build healthier boundaries. As we parted ways, I realized I truly wished her well despite everything. This experience taught me lessons I will carry forever. The importance of direct communication in relationships. The danger of making life-altering decisions based on second-hand information. The necessity of verification before condemnation. And perhaps most importantly, the courage to choose self-respect over the comfort of reconciliation when necessary. I do not know what the future holds for me romantically. I am dating again cautiously. The ability to trust does not come as easily as it once did, but I refuse to let one devastating experience define the rest of my life. There is a strength in moving forward with eyes wide open and being selective about who you let into your heart while still being willing to open it at all. Life rarely gives us neat resolutions or perfect justice. Sometimes we have to find our own closure, create our own meaning, from the chaos of betrayal and loss. For me, that meaning has been learning the delicate balance between forgiveness and self-preservation, between acknowledging the past and refusing to let it dictate my future. If my story resonates with you in any way, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to choose between forgiving someone and protecting your own well-being? Would you have made the same decision I did? Or would you have given the relationship another chance? Please hit that like button if this story touched. You subscribe to hear more journeys of healing and resilience, and share with someone who might need to hear that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that even after the darkest betrayals, healing is possible if you give yourself permission to put yourself first.